Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Man, I have the one and only Al DiMeola with me today, and we're going to have a fun conversation. I want to give a quick shout out to James Fleming for connecting us. Really appreciate that. That was kind of you. Also, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. If you're already watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the little emoji that looks like a bell. So YouTube will recommend us, and thanks for your support for doing that. For those of you who aren't familiar with Al, or maybe just started playing guitar last week, real quick, his background: he's one of the most talented and innovative guitar players of our time. He joined Return to Forever in 1974 when he was 19 years old. In addition to Al, the band consisted of Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke, and Lenny White. Al went on to record 3 amazing albums with Return to Forever. They were Where Have I Known You Before, No Mystery, and Romantic Warrior. All 3 of these records went on the Billboard Top 40 pop charts. After Return to Forever, Al's had a really successful career, releasing close to 40, that's almost impossible to believe, man, 40 albums since 1976. Wow.
35, but
35. That's still pretty damn good. I mean, that's almost amazing. In addition to the members of Return to Forever, Al's played as a sideman or worked on his own albums with Anthony Jackson, Steve Gadd, Barry Miles, Paul Simon, Phil Collins, Larry Coryell, Derek Sherinian, Steve Vai, who we had here on the show, Luciano Pavarotti, Wayne Shorter, Jean-Luc Ponty, Jan Hammer, Jaco Pastorius, John Patitucci, tons of other people here. Steve Winwood, Herbie Hancock, Tony Williams. Al, along with Paco de Lucia and John McLaughlin, also released the most popular live acoustic guitar album of all time, which is called Friday Night in San Francisco. We'll talk about that, which sold more than 2 million copies. Man, thank you so much for your time. 7 million copies.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I know.
Wikipedia says 2.
No, they're wrong.
That's up. That's awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming
We
on the
didn't
show.
even get paid for 2 million, but that's okay. But we know what the sales were. That would involve lawyers in every country.
Yeah, man, you had a funny story about that. I want to ask you about it later. About lawyers with McLaughlin with your volume.
That's a cool story. John and I are talking very nicely these days.
Oh, everything's cool?
Yeah. Everything's cool, and I think the whole COVID thing when it emerged, really brought us to a sense of like it just got to let go of some stuff, and
good.
We patched things up, and it's we patched things up so well that my insistence that some tapes that I had in my vault that consisted of Saturday Night in San Francisco, which he forgot there was a second night. But I had these tapes for 40 some odd years, right? And I said to him, John, it's just not worth, not, acknowledging, or it's not worth carrying on whatever it was in the past. Let's just, get over it, And I said, we got a gold mine here in terms of music that, of other tracks that were not included on Friday night that, I mean, even for Paco's family, it would be great to have this come out, and for the fans. And at first he was, I don't know, he couldn't kind of figure it out, but then the real beautiful side of John came out, and we started talking like we've never talked before, perhaps.
Oh, cool.
Or at least for the last 35 years or so. And it was great. He finally said, all right, send me something, a little hesitant, but when he got it, he was shocked at how good it was. And then I sent him some more stuff. And I said, John, we're going to have to edit it down to make the sides work, because they want to do a 33 and a 45 vinyl, which require different times and everything. So we're going to have to, goes, oh, no, don't edit any of it. I love it all of it. I said, oh my God, John, we
created a monster.
I would, because he couldn't travel, I had to do everything. So the mixing, the editing, with an engineer, of course. And the editing just took forever to make sides work. So you had to sit there and go, oh God, I got to lose this run and I got to lose this part. So we try to find all the, the parts that are losable, And
So there'll be a Saturday night in San Francisco
yeah,
coming out.
this year. Yeah. I mean,
That's awesome,
the end
man.
of the year, probably. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Okay. You had a pretty serious accident when you were 7 years old that could have potentially left you with permanent brain damage.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow out of this accident, you had what some people might consider some type of awakening or a combination of gratitude and also deliberate purpose for what you wanted to do in life. So to whatever extent you're comfortable, can you talk about this and also about the realizations you came to about music and its place in your life, and also how or why you think this happened, like the greater picture?
I don't know. There must be a higher power, because to have made it through a 2-month hospital stay, and all of these brain surgeries I had, which I seem to remember that they couldn't put me to sleep for these surgeries. So I was actually awake
for brain surgery.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And I just remember, oh God, I remember it probably was 2 or 3 or 4, doctors, nurses, and I remember them holding me down so I wouldn't move, because you wouldn't want any of those things that were going in the head to break off. So, including the spinal tap, I remember that was like really brutal, So these are things that I definitely remember clearly. And there was a number of them, because, when you have a head injury, like, and in this case, it was because I was 7 years old and I had a little tree fort in the backyard, and it was over the driveway. And,
Okay.
And I think I had just kind of laid down on this board, and the board was not secure, and then the board slipped, and I wound up on my head from a very high distance, and bad. So what happens, a head injury of that magnitude, in this case, I got a fractured skull, and all the fluid, a lot of fluid from the body goes up into the skull and expands the skull, and there's pressure on the brain. So they have to do some drilling, and they have to do some, extended kind of operations, but over a series of the duration of the time that you're in the hospital. So it's over a course of, I don't know how long, but this is now early 60s. So they may have improved that type of surgery. Excuse me. So, I made it through, and I just had this overwhelming desire to play guitar and somehow get into music at this young age. And by that time, I was probably 8 or 9. So, but it was really intense. And, it's not that I'm the most religious person, but there must be somebody up there looking down.
Yeah. That's amazing that you had this passion at that young of an age.
Yeah. It was intense. I was fortunate too. I had a 7-year older sister who would come home with all the records. So she had all the 45s, all the hits, and then bam, she brings home Meet the Beatles.
Okay.
And now I'm a little older then anyway, but I already started taking guitar lessons from this amazing, it just so happens he was the jazz, like an old school jazz guy, I was getting a training with, all kinds of different scales and different version of chords, everything that a jazz guy would teach, even though I was into the rock thing and the pop thing, like most kids. So I got the best of both worlds. And then, growing up outside of half an hour outside of New York City, took more than a half an hour because we didn't have a car. So we would take the bus in, and then take the subway down from the George Washington Bridge Terminal all the way down to the A train. And it was just a thrill like you can't imagine, to wind up in the East Village, the West Village, and then, You get let out 6th Avenue, and then you walk up 8th Street past Jimi Hendrix studio, Electric Ladyland. You know, we'd be looking in the windows, you could see Jimmy. Then we go down to St. Mark's Place, make a right on 2nd, it's at Fillmore East.
Right.
The, you know, Rock Palace, you know, beautiful theater that we saw everybody, you know, Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, Miles Davis, you know, Jimmy, Jethro Tull, you know, On in the Traffic with Stevie Winwood, Birds, all of it was great. Very impressionable when you're young. So that was part of the education as well, because I would go home totally inspired, you know. Hung out in record stores every day after school, always got a record on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Go to my mom's jewelry store, which was right down the block. Hey, Mom, can I have $5? She would turn to all the customers in the store and she go, he wants $5 for a record. I mean, he could be asking me for cigarettes. He doesn't smoke, so I guess it's going towards a good cause. And like every time she would say to who's ever in the store, you know, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Cool. $5.
Well, back then, $5 you can get like 5 used records.
Yeah, but yeah. But I want that new record, you know.
Back in the day.
Yeah. It was wonderful. And I miss going to record stores.
Yeah.
This is not a better era. No.
Yeah, man.
It is not.
Good education there.
Different era, but it's not better because those stores, man, there was something about it. Oh, man. Well, especially walking into the store and they're playing your new record. Like,
right.
Oh, wow. You know, that was cool.
Very cool. All right. So fast forward a little bit. You're a student at Berkeley. Your buddy takes a tape of you playing with the Barry Miles Quartet and he gets it into Chick Corea's hands. Chick likes what he hears, calls you, asks you to join Return to Forever. So at 19, you leave Berkeley. Your first gig is at Carnegie Hall. The next night, you're playing in front of 40,000 people in Houston. So a couple of questions. At the time this happened, I was wondering, did you reflect back to that accident you had and in any way almost look at these events happening as something that was expected to be a part of your future?
You know, I'd gone to Berkeley, and even, I would say even before Berkeley, I had this unbelievable drive to make it when I'm young. You know, I just said, it's got to happen when I'm young. It can't happen when you're over 30. It's just not, it doesn't happen that way. So it's got to happen now. And it's like there was this higher voice, a higher power that was right with me. And, you know, to pull out of that whole, you know, life and death situation I had earlier, it's almost like we were aligned in thought, and I had some help, you know, because this is winning the lottery. People don't win a lottery. You could play forever, you're not going to win a lottery.
Right.
This was winning the lottery.
Absolutely.
Because it wasn't just a great gig. I mean, you know, RTF was my favorite band.
Right.
So were the Beatles, but the Beatles were, you know, that wasn't in the cards. But so the two bands were, you know, I always loved the Beatles, still my favorite. But RTF was the new cutting edge progressive band that I loved. I mean, you know, they were spearheading a new movement called fusion at the time, or jazz rock, and it was definitely, you know, the hip new sound of the time, along with two other bands, Mahavishnu, who was a little short-lived, and then Weather Report, which is much longer-lived. So along with those bands, we were one of the three, you know. And what I liked about RTF, and I'm very fortunate to have been a part of, is the fact that Chick was a mentor. Chick was, you know, I gotta say, you know, not only a very articulate and amazing improvisationalist, but he was an amazing writer. So, you know, the composition part of RTF was very alluring, you know, and very inspiring to me. You know, different than Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu was very energetic and super exciting. But I think the deeper composition band, uh, in a sense of mixing classical and jazz elements, was RTF. Loved Weather Report too, and they were very different. You know, I loved them all. You know, and I was just so fortunate to be at the forefront of this new movement. And of course, by you know, those 2 years felt like more like 10 years, but we packed so much into 2 years. And the influence of all of that and experience of it all helped build the foundation for where I was about to begin my own thing, you know.
What I guess what made you that driven at, like, you know, to have the awareness and the conscious say, hey man, I need to do this before 30. There's a lot of drive and ambition behind that. What do you think?
Well, you know, I could say something is like, this is true. You know, we had a little, in high school, there were these little bands, one in particular, let's say, with, you know, this kid on the same block had this amazing garage. It was totally the coolest place to hang out. We had a band. And in the band, I really loved playing in this little high school band. And then one day he said, "Gotta break up the band." And I was like, "What? What?" So I went home, and then I found out, like, I don't know, a day or two, whatever it was, that they reformed the band without me.
Holy shit.
So I took it hard, like hard. And my father, he was so upset at that I was upset, that his way of showing love was, you know, because my father was a builder,
Right.
let's say a very skilled carpenter would say. He built a studio for me on top of the house, which we call the dormer. When you lift the roof up, it's called a dormer.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's a term you don't hear very much anymore. But anyway, he lifted the roof up. I remember I was there with actually helping with some other guys lifting the roof. Okay. And so now you got like a bigger room up in the attic, right? And we built the studio connected to my bedroom. And it was phenomenal, man. And so I had my own musician friends come over, but the crux of the story is that I spent that summer with a drive, and I said to myself, I am going to show these guys whatever it takes. And just sometimes the moral to the story is sometimes you need to get kicked in the pants and come back, you know. And I had this internal drive to show them, and the benefit is that, you know, you just get better because you're so driven. And another thing that we don't think about that is a real fact is that we had no cell phones, no computers. Now, ever since the cell phone and the computer, which takes anywhere from, I would say, 6 to 8 hours of our time every day.
Every day. Yeah, man.
Right? That's 6 to 8 hours more that we had put into our craft. Right. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you say you practice. We are robbed of that extra time.
Totally.
Right?
100%.
We can't go backwards. I understand we can't. But listen to those records from that time period when we didn't have cell phones and computers.
Yeah,
in fact, ask somebody the last time they bought a record. And there was people go, ooh, I don't know. Oh, geez, it's been a long time. Yeah.
Totally.
And it's hard to make a phenomenal record today. Not just because of cell phones and computers. That's the main reason.
Yeah.
That we don't talk about, but it's true.
I agree with you.
Second reason is the budgets aren't there because record companies are, you know, they only care about streaming the old stuff, which they're making a fortune, but they're not sharing it with musicians.
Totally.
Okay. That's because there aren't enough of old Jewish music lawyers out there protecting us like we used to have. Oh yeah.
Only a New York, like a Tri-City area would say something like that. It's so funny.
Yeah. But they were all Jewish, and they if they were on your team, they would fight for you. Like,
Yeah.
And really they should be fighting for us now, but there's not many left.
Yeah.
And the new breed of lawyer is totally in line with what's happening with streaming, and it's terrible. I see more than ever online young guys that are just super phenomenal, like I've never seen before.
Right.
But I don't know if they're ever going to have a career. How in this environment are you going to sustain a career?
Right.
Unless you're happy to be poor,
Or limit your career to YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have like what
Yeah.
we had. You don't have record companies that invested in the artist to build their career. That's not happening.
Yeah.
That just won't happen unless you're, a Britney Spears up, wannabe, or a new breed of pop singer or something. And even then, it's awful. So the glory days of the record business are over.
Yep.
As we knew them, and the streaming thing is abominable, and it's got to be fought. And it will get better little by little, and not sure if it'll ever get back to where it was. Certainly, I like the physical product anyway.
Yeah, man. So in a nutshell, righteous indignation, it drove you.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? I cannot tell you how many things I've done in my life because of that. So it's a good motivator. It really is.
It was a hard kick. And let me tell you something about that. Those guys never once congratulated me for where I've gone.
Really?
And they know who they are. Not one of them.
That's weird.
Has come forward, or I ran across or something. Not one.
That's weird.
So they're so blown away that this guy made it of all the guys in the band. In fact, they were all super Grateful Dead fans too. They lived for the Grateful Dead. Like, so they would go in the city in the VW bus. Sometimes I would go with them. And then, like, I would say somewhere in the 80s, a Guitar Player magazine came out with Cherry on the cover, and he named me his favorite guitarist.
Oh, that's so funny. That's awesome, man. That must have felt good.
So cool. I never got to meet Jerry, but, it was just the fact that, all those circumstances happened. And,
that's funny, man.
It's really funny, Another band we used to see at the Film was Santana. Phenomenal. It was just so exciting. When you're young, that thrill when you're that young is unbelievable. We don't get as much of that thrill in this stage of life, but I did when I made that first Beatle compilation at Abbey Road. It was like I was a 5-year-old at Disney World. That kind of excitement that you just don't get anymore. I had it every day when I was at Abbey Road. It was. In fact, I was going through a divorce. So I was very, one side of me was extremely depressed.
Yeah.
Terrible. And by motivating myself to actually make that dream happen, I had this other side that was elated and just like in fantasy land to kind of fight it.
That's good because going through divorce sucks. It's horrific.
I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I really thought that because divorce lawyers are a shameful bunch of bastards. They're a really shameful bunch of pricks because what they do. How
do you feel? How do you really feel?
What they do is they make sure that the woman gets half and they make sure they get the other half. No, really.
I know. I've been through divorce many years.
Divorce is so warped and unfair. It's not funny.
I know. I've been through it 30 years ago. It was brutal. Wow.
But brutal is one thing, and then unfair, is really what it is.
Yeah, totally unfair.
They need to revamp the whole system.
Well, you get it. You feel better when you do it the second time around. At least I did, and I've seen a bunch of videos. I know you feel the same way. So
I have had the best of my life.
There you go.
8 years. It's night and day. I met an amazing woman from Germany, when I was doing a show in Budapest, of all places. It was like a rock legend show, and I was part of this thing, and I got to play with Jack Bruce.
Oh
It
man.
was his last performance, and I got to play Sunshine of Your Love and White Room with him.
Wow,
And
that's so cool.
it's so cool. Oh my God. Greg Lake was there, who also passed away. A shame.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Who else was? Bobby Kimball from Toto, the lead singer.
Yeah.
Rosanna, that guy. And the Brecker, Randy Brecker, Bill Evans, Shaka Khan, guys from Manfred Mann, Chris Thomas, and it was a beautiful night. So the after party is where I met my wife, and man, I knew when I saw her, something hit me like a rock, and I just knew. And that night we went, a bunch of us went to a bar, and we just had the greatest time, and we just kept in touch. And then I was invited to go to Munich, and I just knew it was, and it's been the best 8 years ever.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Have a beautiful little 5-year-old girl. It's a dream, It's great.
That's cool, man. Hey, I've heard you tell this story before, but it's funny as hell. So if you're cool with it, I'd love to hear you talk about your mom giving you Xanax before your first show at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, you can imagine the nerves that, I was so unbelievably nervous. I mean, it's not like we're warming up in a club or, a rehearsal hall with a bunch of people. No, first gig, sold out Carnegie Hall, 19 years old. I'm a baby.
All right.
Playing with giants that are already legends, guys, my favorite musicians in the world. And like, how can this be? It's really like I was in a dream. Am I dreaming this? And I think we had nothing more than 2 or 3 days rehearsal with 11-page charts. And that was the blessing of early education, to be able to read this stuff. Because if you were a great player and you couldn't read, you wouldn't have lasted, a second, because you can't have a guy fumbling over, 3 or 4 bars and not getting past that. So I was able to read. That was a big part of it. And they saw something in my playing that I was very insecure. I mean, I didn't know if, I could play with these giants, but they were very supportive, especially Chick was supportive. And I was swimming, I was a baby in the deep end, trying to swim. It was either sink or swim. And then that particular tour, even though it started at Carnegie Hall, and I had to go to my mom and say, hey, Mom, do you have those like nervous pills that you take? I think I got a handful of them or something, because I downed them. It wasn't a question. I just popped them. And I remember I was so afraid that to look at the full theater at Carnegie Hall, which I certainly did not deserve being Carnegie Hall, 19 years old.
And it goes all the way up, man.
I thought I would just, crap in my pants. So I put the music stands head high as I was standing. So no one could see my head. That's as high, I didn't want it low where they could see me, because if I happened to look out, I would just freeze,
Right.
So I hid behind the stand. This is what I seem to remember. I don't have any pictures of it, because in those days they were doing no phones to take pictures of. But there is an audio recording of it on YouTube, which I think is very funny, because when Chick introduces the band, he introduces me last and tells the little story about how it happened. So it's priceless to have, to listen to that, from me, My friend got me in the band by persisting with Chick's management and Chick.
Yeah.
To listen to this tape that he had made. He was my friend Michael Bayukas, God rest his soul. He was like my big brother, my big hippie brother, 7 years older. And he just always took a liking to my playing and recorded me with the Barry Moms Quartet. I think I was 17 years old. And it was on New Year's Eve, and he had slipped me some LSD. And man, I was tripping like you can't imagine. And I heard this tape after, and I go, this doesn't even sound like me. I don't know where those scales. I don't know where it came from. It came from another place. But some of the best music was created that way. Anyway, that was the only time I did that, believe it or not. And I didn't know what I was doing. He said, hey, Al, check this out.
All
Like
right.
one of those things.
That's so funny. You're 17 when you made that tape. That's really,
Yeah, 17. And when I heard it back a couple of times after that, I was like, oh, Jesus. And it was really good, and that's what Chick had heard ultimately. And I got the gig based on that recording.
that's another one you should release, man. If it could be cleaned up.
I don't know where to find it, but it exists. I just have to, just diligently search. It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
If it's on a cassette, it's going through all the cassettes, and or there is a reel of it as well, which I may have. Yeah.
I watched a lot of interviews in
Yeah.
preparation for this, and you've always had a real solid level of confidence in your playing and in your compositional skills and in your role as a band leader, even early in your career after Return to Forever. And that is not something that you usually have at a young age. And I was curious, how do you think you develop that level of maturity? And again,
You absorb, and you watch, someone that you admire and look up to, in that case being Chick, how he led the band, and you hopefully allow it to influence you. And so I learned from the best, uh, I guess. And then I had, look, when I'm in rehearsal, it's the hardest work, and I become this other person. I'll be quite honest. I really have strong convictions about rhythm. Like,
right.
like, you know, I think outside the box usually make these people nuts. But percussionists love me.
Of course.
Drummers can't. Initially, they just can't figure out how I think the way I think, because I write so rhythmically, especially the first parts that I write out by hand is not the melody. You can never start composing with a melody ever. It just doesn't happen. What happens is you got to have the harmony, otherwise the melody means nothing, right? Once you have the harmony, then you can construct a melody. But in my case, the harmonies are very arpeggiated rhythmically, just as a kind of normal thing that I do. And it's usually syncopated rhythms within the arpeggiated part. So that's like the middle line. If I'm writing a melody, top line, arpeggio, middle line, the hardest part is that first arpeggiated, syncopated harmonic movement. And the bottom line could be the bass, let's say. And yeah, when I get into those rehearsals, I instinctively know where to place a drum rhythm so it doesn't conflict with the rhythm of the syncopated harmonic movement of the guitar. And then a percussionist, if they're not given direction, in most cases, they will play what feels obvious or feels natural. Natural doesn't always work. Sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't work if the composition is well written. It's not loose composition. It's more in the framework of a classical type of composition where the parts are written in stone. Therefore, it has to be treated as an orchestral part. Otherwise, you have a mess. It's not a guy strumming chords, like this. It's arpeggiating with a rhythm. And that rhythm can be just squashed and, lost if you're a drummer and your percussionists are just playing whatever they feel. That doesn't work. So you have to have guys that are willing and able to respect the leader, because I have very definite things that come to me very naturally about how they start a rhythm. They might start on the and of two. which is very unorthodox. They might
Yeah.
feel it's unorthodox. If the pattern starts in a weird place, but I'm hearing the whole thing in my head instantly, and so when I give these directions, because those parts are normally not written out because I feel it at the moment and I just know, so you never have the percussionist and the drummer playing the same rhythm. That's a no-no. It's always, it always fits like this. It's
Right.
never like that. It's like this. And it's beautiful, man, especially if you're listening in stereo, which we don't listen to stereo that much anymore. But if you do, it's so cool to have, these separate parts. And I got all of that. Well, I got a lot of that, the idea of mixing like that from the Beatles, because George Martin would put Ringo on one side a lot of times. That is the coolest thing in the world. And then you might have John coming out singing on the right side with no bleed of the reverb going to the left side.
Right.
It's so stark and amazing when you're hearing in the stereo. They were doing things like that way back in the 60s. And then all of a sudden, 70s and 80s, everybody's mixing wide, everything wide. No good. No good. Especially if the music has a lot of parts. And you want distinctive clarity on parts. You've got to use extremes as well. Yeah, you can put the vocal in the middle. You can put the guitar solo middle if you need be. But rhythmic things where they're on top of one another, but they're separate rhythms that start in different places, different patterns. Have to be separated. You can't put them together. So these are things that I discuss in rehearsals. And, some guys can't even take the task of it.
Right.
Because some guys like the freedom to do what they want. Now, if you have a player of a high extreme ability, really high extreme ability, like a Steve Gadd,
Right.
or players of that level, they bring something to what you want or what you've written, and I welcome.
Right.
And then some guys look for direction, and then that's where you just have to be clear what you want. Because if you just let a guy go, the recording is going to be awful. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be much less than the end effect.
So you've just always had a belief in the structure, in your own arrangements.
I have this rhythmic sensibility that the one thing you can't learn in music, in life, you can't learn how to play syncopation in time through lessons.
Right.
You could talk about it, you could try it, but if you don't have that inner metronome, so when your lower half of the body is tapping quarter notes, and then the upper half of the body is doing the syncopation against the quarter note, you can't have the upper body influence the time down below. If you do, you're out of sync.
Right.
When you're out of sync, the hypnotic effect of what you're trying to get through gets diminished. It's a very important point. You can learn the music education, harmony, and all the other aspects that have to do with chords and scales and all of that kind of stuff. That's all learned. But a rhythmic sense where that's the part I'm talking about, is a part you're either born with it or you're not. It's not a thing you can ultimately learn. Some guys just have it naturally. And then you have the geographic factor in this. This is, you don't hear people talk about this, but I've talked about it with some Cuban musicians, and they 100% agree. It's just that you never hear anybody talk about it. You have it more in certain southern hemispheres than you might in northern.
Sure.
You can forget, north of Asia or whatever. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, Cuba, South America, more than likely, except Argentina comes from more of a classical European background. So they're very different than the Brazilian, because Brazilian has, uh, an African influx, so you have certain rhythms that are derived from that origin.
Because the music of the culture is more percussive in general.
Yeah, but there's something about the innate, makeup of the origin of these people.
Yeah.
And I mean, my people are from southern Italy, but when I look back, I've looked back centuries and centuries that there was a Spanish connection. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, who knows? But the thing is, that rhythmic thing I used to practice. I think I always had it, but I used to practice it as well on my desktop in high school. I hardly paid attention, and I was always tapping my foot under the desk and playing rhythms, like
right.
Right, and quiet enough so I didn't get in trouble. But I don't know why I thought by doing this nonstop, as crazy as it was, I don't know why I thought I'd be able to carry that over into my playing. So in a way, my guitar playing might be considered to be a little bit unorthodox compared to other players like Holdsworth and all those other guys that whatever they did was extremely beautiful in their own way. But I came from a kind of a drummer or percussionist sense,
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate for it because I a lot of my music is Latin tinged.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. When you switch from electric to acoustic, and then you move from steel string acoustic to nylon string acoustic, what were some of the challenges or adjustments you had to make, and what were some of the cool things that came out of this for you in making these adjustments?
Well, I was known for playing an acoustic steel string with the Ovation. I'd say for the first 20 years or more, 25 years, whatever it might be, So I was really known for that sound, and then I made a graduation, let's say, to a difficult one to the nylon because it's a little bit harder to play, but I really just grew to love the nylon sound. But only recently, in the last 2 months, made a return for the first time after 20 years back to the Ovation, which is an amazing kind of revelation that I returned to that sound that everyone knew of me, and partly because I've developed carpal tunnel syndrome in my left hand. And the nylon also doesn't respond as fast as a steel string.
Right.
So you work harder on the nylon for sure.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I think I'm going to put it on the back burner for a while.
The nylon string. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I didn't realize how much I missed the Ovation until just recently. They sent me a new model, a signature model of mine with the little John McLaughlin button in the
side. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, this is a funny story.
It's a funny story. Back when we were doing one of the last guitar trio tours with Paco, the tour was set up, an amazing world tour. But John decided, and also using Paco's name as we decided, me, John and Paco decided that we don't want you using the Ovation guitar with the bond control on the top. We want you using the guitar without the bond control. I said, well, I don't understand. I've done like a number of tours with you guys and recordings always with that same guitar. That's my sound. Plus, I don't think it's fair that, you tell me that, because this guitar basically is a direct sound with a phono plug into a box. So I don't have your ability as much to lean into a mic for more sound and lean back when you're playing rhythm. So that's how you control your volume. So for me, I need to be able to turn down if I'm playing rhythm and turn slightly up if I'm playing lead. John just had a bug about it, and it became a huge legal issue where he basically threatened to not do the tour, like right before the whole tour was booked. I said, John, you can't get sued. I'm not going to get sued. I'm not pulling out of the tour. I'm going to do the tour, but you can get sued because I'm not doing it unless you agree. So my lawyer is going back and forth between his manager and back and forth, tons of facts. I mean, like a mountain of faxes on this issue. And I finally agreed. I had to agree, like it was like a divorce, but like this.
This is a
I had to
divorce.
sign so many things that I would not ever reach over with my picking hand, as I normally do, and adjust the volume ever. I had to agree never to reach over with my right hand. But they never said anything about the left hand.
This is so cool.
So what I did was I'll show you.
Yeah, man, this is cool.
As you see right here, I was able to get Ovation to put this little button here.
That is awesome. That's so cool.
The in and out button, which is now affectionately known as the John McLaughlin button.
Yeah, man, that's hilarious. That's really funny. What?
I didn't have these in, but
no, it's cool. What was he concerned with? That you were going to be louder than him, or?
They didn't like the fact that I had the ability to turn up and down, and yeah, I think they were a little jealous of the Ovation guitar, because it really was, when this thing goes direct, it is so distinctive to the audience, where a nylon, you only have so much play with a microphone.
Yeah.
And it was really a blessing to have, to not have, it was a blessing to not have 3 nylons.
Right.
That would have been god awful.
Yeah.
But to have the distinctive, John had a different nylon sound, Paco had the best nylon sound, and then I had this other sound. And that's what made it good. Really, really, really cool, right?
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah, I know. It's a funny story. And, I remember when I first, I found on Facebook, I told the story. People, they ate that story up like you can't imagine.
Well, it's so absurd.
It's totally absurd. And, look, I was the guy 14 years younger than John. And when you're the young guy, coming in this young gun, John is very, I'm John McLaughlin, I'm the guy, so I had to take some stuff. I had to take some dirt, for a while.
The John McLaughlin button. All righty. So I want to talk about a few of my favorite Al DiMeola recordings. I'm not going to ask you about Race with the Devil because 1,000 people have asked you about that already, but that is, of course, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mediterranean Sundance, you and Paco from Elegant Gypsy. I don't even have words to describe how, that's just mind blowing, but I was curious, like, was that take one? What's on tape?
It was take more like take one of that day. The first day he came in straight from Spain. He had a buddy with him from the States, and really he couldn't communicate that well. He was nervous beyond belief because he was really out of his comfort zone. And then we were sitting in Electric Lady studio, and I think he was a combination of just overwhelmed, just arriving and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't get anything the first day, mainly because of, he likes to relax, so he needed he needed to have a little ganja, right? And so I had a buddy of mine, like a hippie friend of mine that was there, who's like just lives for that stuff. And he said, "Oh, no problem. I'll get you the best stuff," and which he did. And we started the next day. Pop was feeling like no pain and just really great mood after smoking. And that was the first take.
Right. That's amazing, man.
And then, I mean, everybody in the control room was just like, you could see all the hands go, wow, that's it, wow, and you could hear Paco at the very end. I don't know if you noticed this. You could hear Paco going,
yeah,
because we knew it was just so we knew it was one of those magic moments. It's very rare to get that kind of vibe, in a recording when the interplay is so good.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah,
and
it became a hit single. That became a hit, not here, but it became a hit single in Spain and Germany. But like a hit, like with, same with hit radios at any top 40,
As it should be, man. That's just incredible. Like I said, I don't have words. You listen to it, it's like, what the hell can you say?
And then we did the Friday night in San Francisco version, which was, let me see, 3 years later. And that's also really good interplay. And that was at the end of a 2 months playing together.
That's
and
so
that was
cool.
Another, it's not like every time you play it, you're going to have that kind of just perfect kind of interplay,
Beautiful,
but
man.
It was really special.
And Electric Lady Studio is a perfect place to get weed, man. It's like right on 8th Street in the Village, just like, or something like that, right? Or 4th Street or 8th Street.
And my hippie friend that got it, he passed away. He was like my big brother, 7 years older than I was. And his name was Michael Bayou. And Michael was like very close brother to me. He was really my sister's friend. My sister's 7 years older. But then he took a liking to me a lot, my music and my guitar playing and all. And he was sort of like an amateur recording engineer. And he was the guy that recorded me when I was 17 years old playing with the Barry Miles Quartet, which that tape he made from the reel to reel, those TAC machines, on a New Year's Eve show that I did with Barry Miles. And he brought that tape. Well, I think he made a cassette of it, and he brought it to Chick and his management.
Right.
And that's how I got the gig. He made that happen.
Awesome, man.
So he actually made that happen, and also not Friday night, Mediterranean Sundance. He made, because of Michael, he was instrumental in both.
So he was like a guy who changed your life, pretty much.
Yeah, he really was, man.
Yeah. Really cool,
know.
man. Sorry you lost. Sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah, it was just a horrific ending to his life, but what are you gonna do? He couldn't make it on his own, but he definitely was instrumental in my making it in this business.
He's like what do they call that? Like an angel. My son had a story one day. It was an Eskimo. He told me a story about these people were lost up in Alaska and they couldn't find their way. And it was freezing and cold, and they find an Eskimo, and he said, "Oh, you're just right over there is where you need to go." And the moral of the story is like everybody has an Eskimo.
Yeah.
So he was your Eskimo, man.
Yeah. He sure was.
Kiss My Axe, 91. You got a song on there. It's really beautiful. It's called Oriana, September 24th, 88. I was curious what the backstory to that is. It's pretty and sad and moving.
Well, it shouldn't be so much sad, it's just heartfelt. It was just an amazing experience to have your first child, and I had a very close relationship, still do, with my oldest daughter, and
That's
that was
awesome.
her birthday. So she actually had 2 songs on that record. It was also her nickname was Gigi, even though her name was Oriana.
Okay.
So I had a track, I don't know if you remember, with all these toys playing and everything. And that was really deep, dark, actually. The way it came out was dark. I didn't mean it to be, but it was all these toys playing, and all the mysterious kind of like dissonant crap going on. But it was really just the culmination of all of those sounds, which
Gigi's
like
Playtime.
Gigi's Playtime rhyme, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. From Consequence of Chaos, there's a great track in there with a haunting opening and some really tasty guitar melodies called Sanctuary. I was curious what was the backstory there. And also, I don't usually ask about titles, but Consequence of Chaos is a pretty deliberate, it's a pretty deliberate statement. I was curious, does that reflect, or did that reflect what was going on in your life when you put that together?
Oh, yeah. Well, it reflected most of what was going on in my life for almost all the records until the last few. But it's what we go through when we make a product, when we make a record. It's just it's some chaos, but definitely a lot of blood and sweat, and and definitely, it's painful to get to the end. It's enjoyable but painful too. It's sometimes very chaotic. So I thought it was appropriate title for what we go through, and also the time at that particular time in our history. I forget exactly what it was. I mean, I think it's even more appropriate during the Trump years, but
you can make Consequence of Chaos too for like the last 5-6 years, man.
Yeah. So the Consequence of the Chaos was that record.
Gotcha.
Here it is.
And tell me about Sanctuary. Great song.
That was the easiest piece ever, because that was just kind of a loop I found, and I just played over it, and it was really like probably done within minutes. So there wasn't a lot to. It was just kind of the inspiration at the moment that I played over it, and it sounded. Whatever came out was like, wow, that's a statement.
Yeah,
that's almost a composition. I can't take full credit for it, because the loop was already what it was, but it was kind of just like an interlude in between the actual compositions.
Yeah,
and I just played over this loop. I said, man, it just came out of me, because it inspired me.
Great track.
So, yeah.
And then one more, 2009, Return to Forever gets back together, and you guys release an absolutely
2008. We got 2008.
Well,
yeah.
Right. In 9, you released incredible double album called Returns. And it was the first time, I guess, in around 30 years, you guys had played together on recording. And to me, that record was ferocious. I mean,
really? Oh, I haven't heard it.
Really?
Not even once.
Are you serious?
No. I haven't heard it even once. What happened was,
holy crap.
we had a strange ending to the whole thing, you know what I mean? And then I think it was supposed to be given the mixes to somebody like a Bob Clearmountain, somebody else. So he'd be like independent. And what happened was Chick and Stanley wound up mixing it and mixed me out of it. I was like, where's the guitar? So that record did not come out in time, because I had to go through the legal means of like holding it up.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh man, it was insane. In fact, thanks for reminding me, because I'm doing an autobiography, and I want to put that in the book. Yeah. So we held it up. I just said, no, I'm not in the mix.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It was really ridiculous.
Wow.
And also there was some records that had some records that came out like reissued, that they went ahead and they remixed, and the same thing happened. And I go, oh my God, they just put the electric guitar like this, the piano like this, the bass like this, and that's the way they really envision it. I envision the electric guitar to be like, bam. That's the vocal of the piece.
100%. Right? Everybody does with instrumental music.
Yeah. I mean, if you heard Land in the Midnight Sun, my first record, after coming out of RTF, it's like I had the guitar so in front. It was kind of my answer to what I went through with the band. But yeah. So anyway, I put up this protest, and Chick said, okay. So yeah, okay, cool. You wanna remix. You wanna go in the studio and get the guitar for it. Okay, I understand how you feel. We're gonna send Bill, my Scientology manager, uh, to go with you. I said, oh, oh, okay. And a chick's Scientology engineer as well. So sitting at the board, there's the engineer here, and I'm like this, and here's the music, and I said, guitar, okay, cool. Like this. And the engineer would turn around like this and look at the manager,
Dude,
and the
that's kind of
manager,
creepy.
oh, it was so bizarre. So every time I said, I can't hear the guitar. He would turn around to the manager, and, to get his approval.
Oh, that is really creepy, man.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. That's good. That's a good one for the book.
Yeah, it really is. Because that's creepy.
Just
that whole experience is not normal. It's like creepy.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's got to go in my book because I'm not making stuff up. I'm just telling stories that have happened, good and bad, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Good and weird. I won't say bad, weird.
It's like having the IRS sit next to you when you do your taxes. It's like
they were, look, it was.
Oh man,
with Scientology involved, it's so bizarre.
Wow, that's sad to hear because I thought the record was phenomenal. It was like,
well, you heard some guitar, right?
Yes.
That's because otherwise it would have been so lopsided, And
wow,
I had to fight for it. Let me tell you.
That's really sad.
It held up the release like 6 months. That they went berserk. They went insane, man.
That's really. In fact, on 500 Miles High, your guitar is like.
I didn't even know I played on that.
Oh, it's
I'm on
awesome.
that song?
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
Where'd they get that from? We didn't play that live.
Well,
somebody was playing once live.
Someone's on there. I think it was recorded down here in at Ruth Eckerd, as a matter of fact, or some of it, right?
Ruth Eckerd. Well,
in Clearwater?
only because it was supposed to be Montreux, Switzerland.
Okay.
But Chick had a bunch of technical issues. And so that they had to redo it at Ruth Eckerd when we played there, which was a shame because I had really good performances. Because of Chick stuff, we had to redo some of the pieces.
Well, let me tell you, might have had something to do with it. I don't know if you know this. The head of the Scientology, like, there's a massive out in Clearwater, massive Scientology.
Yeah,
I thought their home base is here actually. Right in Clearwater.
It's a world home base.
Okay, right.
Not just the United States, the world. It's called Flag, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Flag is that's their super home base of the whole world.
Yeah.
Which is why Chick moved there,
Interesting. And it's sometimes you drive down. I mean, I don't know where in Clearwater. I don't usually go to Clearwater. I go to St. Pete more often, you always could tell who's a Scientologist because they all have the same sort of like uniform on. And they're walking. No, seriously. And they were walking at the same sort of, it's like when you're a kid and you go outside of Catholic school, you drive by, everybody's got the same uniform on, right?
Right.
And you can tell, oh, these guys go to Mount St. Michael or, whatever. Right. And so it's the same thing there. And it's kind of, just a different vibe. Al, tell me the top knee-jerk reaction. This is probably an unfair question. Top 3 experiences you've had musically.
Well, one of them was, of course, joining RTF was an amazing dream come true. It's like hitting the lottery as a teenager, and it was really like, in that first month, my first show was Carnegie Hall.
Right.
At the end of that tour, which was still in July, I had done not only Carnegie Hall as my first show, but we did 4 stadiums as part of the Newport Jazz Festival. So here I am in second base in Houston Astrodome, and 19 years old, playing with my favorite band. That was pretty cool. And then going into the studio at the end of that month to record the first record with them. And John Lennon was in the next room, and seeing John, quite often.
That's
and I'm
cool.
the biggest Beatles fan. And also, doing the Beatles tribute record at Abbey Road was probably the most incredible experience for me because it was bringing me back to my childhood and all those, you know, all of those experiences of just sitting in that room and dreaming and listening to Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, Abbey Road, and just dreaming, you know. And there I was, right in the same room, same equipment, same everything, same floor, same walls. It was like a feeling we don't have as adults, but I was feeling like a 5-year-old going to Disney World, that kind of thrill
That's
that
so
we
awesome.
don't experience as an adult anymore. I had as an adult. And that's one of the top 3 standouts, you know. I also, you know, there's so many, you know, I think the whole Friday night in San Francisco thing was a big deal because we knew after 2 months of playing together that our chops were ridiculous, and so therefore our conversations, our dialogue as we played was really at a high end. You know, that was very special as well. You know, there's many.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. On some interviews, you often mentioned that you were very shy. How did you overcome that, or are you still basically a shy person?
No, I became more confident as time went on. I was very insecure when I first joined the band. I mean, I wasn't cocky at all. I was like, you know, I just all I wanted to do was practice and kind of rise up. You know, I was a baby thrown into the deep end of the pool, and so I had to really kind of, you know, luckily there were no cell phones and computers back in the day.
Right.
You know, and that really, you know, allowed for an extra 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to get better fast. I had to build up my confidence, which is what happened. And, you know, just by, you know,
By knowing you
concentrating.
can walk in there and be an equal or better than to be, yeah, that totally makes sense. What were some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them to whatever extent you're comfortable?
Hold on one second. Hey, now let me call you back. I'm in an interview. Okay, but dark period.
That was awesome.
I had a lot of dark periods, you know. I did. But dark periods can bring out some really good music, you know.
Definitely.
I've very rarely been super happy making records. You know, I've always been in some kind of boom or something. So I was really worried when I actually got happy that I couldn't make any music.
Really?
Yeah.
That's almost like a guy, you know, I talked to a lot of guys, they had a substance abuse problem and then they got sober.
I didn't have that. No. But you know, I've battled depression like you know, the wicked kind. So music has been somewhat of a therapy for it, but I had to fight through it. And you know, when I met my wife, which is like going on 8 or 8+ years now, you know, I was really in a happy state and still am, you know. And when I made that first record while we were together called Opus,
Mm-hmm.
it must be, I don't know how many years now, 6, 7 years old record. I made that record. I was really worried I couldn't make that record. I said, you know, happy. I had to be miserable like I always was. I made some great records. I thought being miserable.
I think you did, man.
I brought that up with the record company at a meeting, and they said, "That's it. We're going to use that line." I said, "What? Which line? What? You made this record. You were worried you were going to make this record and being happy. That's great. We're going to use that." And so every interview, they would hit me with that. So you were happy making this record. So, you know, I had to talk about that. You know, it's, oh my God. Okay.
But you know what? I get that, because look, we are a very adaptable species. And if you're one way, it's easy to adapt to that. And then when you change, even for the positive, that change is weird.
Yeah.
I totally get that, man.
It was really weird. Yeah. Because I was always, you know, writing music here in this particular room in Miami. This is my writing room.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a this thing built in, this bookshelf built in, but on one side of it, it's just where I have my scores, you know, built for scoring. And, you know, I've always had to, well, it felt like I need to be completely isolated and alone to write, which is, you know, it could be lonely, it could be lots of things, but Opus, I had written most of that music with my wife and she was a baby at the time, my 5-year-old. And it was the first time I was able to do that, being kind of happy and with them around, you know. Usually I would have to isolate, you know, but it was like totally cool.
That's awesome, man.
So I was really shocked I could do it. And so the record sounded different to me, you know, as a result, but I liked it, you know.
I could, you know what? I totally get that, because here you are, you're a shy young kid, insecure, like every 17-year-old is, right? And
well,
then
some are very confident, but you know, I wasn't not one
17. I don't know, man. That's not too many confident. But and then you come
now
in
with those giants,
right?
I mean,
and
Chick
then
and Stanley and Lenny were already, you know, in my mind, legends
already. Yes, for sure.
You know?
So you come in that environment, and you're super intense, and your standards are incredibly high. So you come in with this, like, you gotta be laser. I totally get that, man. You laser focused, and then you had to be that way for quite some time, and then so that's the way you stay. You know, I really do get that, man.
I had the right attitude that Chick liked, and the attitude was I was there to see what was needed and wanted, not like how much am I going to get paid.
Yeah,
you want to turn somebody right off, say, well, what's the pay like?
Yeah.
You got the biggest, right? I would pay to play with them.
Right. Especially as a 17-year-old, you can't come in there. Yeah, it's like,
that's the last thing that, you know,
totally.
When guys come into a situation, they're nobody. They're a no name. And they go, well, how much? 0, because you're not getting the gig.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what, you know, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So, especially at that age, you know, it's, I was more than hungry. I was more like, you know, I can't even believe I'm here. What am I doing here? But my friend Michael was the guy that persisted. Not because I asked him to. He just on his own persisted, was diligent in getting them to hear that tape. He really believed in that live show that he had captured. And the timing was just right. The stars were aligned. They right then were looking for a guitar player. And there was this guy with a tape. And they said, well, what the hell? Let's just listen to it. The chance is not great, but we'll check it out. And they loved it.
Yeah.
And holy mackerel.
That's like a God thing, man. That's like
it's a God thing.
Totally, man.
Totally a God thing.
Yeah. What's the chances? Yeah.
No, the chance is 1 in a zillion. You know, it's like winning the lottery. You're not going to win the $200 million. Okay, it's not going to happen. But buy the ticket anyway.
Right. Thanks for sharing. That was really cool, and I could totally understand that, man. And hey, I'm glad you're happy. It's definitely better being happy.
Oh man.
If there's any advice you could go back and give young Al, assuming you would have listened, what would you have told yourself that might have made life easier? Musically, professionally, business, personal, whatever.
Life easier. I never thought about that. Life easier. I don't know. You know, you could have taken some courses in business. You could have, you know, look, I got the break early, so I really didn't continue with my studies further because, you know, the choice was continue with your studies and blow the opportunity.
It's no choice there, man.
It happened way too soon, you know, so I'm still a student of the guitar.
Sure.
You know, I think if we had 2 or 3 more lifetimes, you'll still be a student of this instrument that's never ending what you can learn.
Totally.
So you never arrive, you know, you arrive in the eyes and the minds of the fans. that this guy is a celebrity, that this guy is well known, he's arrived. No, but to us, if we're honest, none of us could say we've arrived.
Sure.
Not even my favorite players could say we're it. We finally got there. No, there's always so much more, you know.
School's never out for the pro, man.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I wish I could have gone on, you know, and because there's so much more to learn. Because learning was fun, right?
Yeah.
But then you get in this position like I did early on. It's like, holy mackerel, man! I gotta like pretend like I got it all together, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
But what a good experience, man! You lived your dream. I mean, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
How many people get to do that? I mean, that's pretty freaking cool.
You know, I remember calling my friend Michael and my big brother Michael. I said, look, I just saw Return to Forever. You know, while I was at Berkeley, they were playing at the Orpheum Theater. And Earl Klug was playing electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Earl Klug, as you know, if you don't know, he's an acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar, yeah.
And there he was with a Les Paul standing up.
Yeah.
What the hell? So I just saw the show and I called Michael and I said, hey, Mike, I just saw RTF, my favorite band. The Beatles and RTF. Beatles, you can never play with. I said, man, I'd give anything to play with that. Wow, what a dream that would be. And I didn't tell him to go do what he did. He just took it upon himself. And you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try to get them to hear that tape. So I'm good. And I got a call from Chick. Hey, your buddy Michael, you know, he's bothering us like to death to hear this tape. We finally got to hear it, and man, we'd love to have you come to New York and like, you know, join the band. I was like, what? You know, who is this?
Right. Did you even think it was him?
Well, at first, no, and then I remember the sound of his voice because I had been to a show at the Village Gate some years before, maybe a couple of years before. When he had the first version of RTF with the Brazilian version, acoustic version, you know, and I just remember his voice, you know, so yeah, wow. And I just remember packing quick, going home, and my mother answering, you know, it was the middle of the day, it was on a weekend, I think, and the screen door, she would lock the screen door, you know, and I was hitting on the screen door. She goes, oh my God, what are you doing home? That's crazy. What are you doing home? I can't believe you're here. I said, yeah, I'm playing Carnegie on Tuesday night. And my father's in the background at the table. Get out of here. You're not playing Carnegie. Oh, he had the paper, you know, with the white t-shirt, you know. You're not playing Carnegie. Come on. What are you doing home? I said, Dad, I'm playing Carnegie. Stop it. You're not playing Carnegie. What are you doing home? And I had to tell 10 times.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Good times, man. Good for you.
Yeah, it was a wonderful upbringing, really, and to grow up right outside of New York City and spend my high school years going in, seeing whatever show was happening that was at the Fillmore East.
It's sad that you can't do that anymore.
No,
even if you live right downtown. Yeah, there's nothing. It's just
this era in a lot of ways sucks bad.
Musically, yeah.
Yeah, and also no record stores.
Yeah, I know.
And one of the wonderful experiences on a daily basis,
definitely
after school, was going to the record shop and hanging out.
And reading the covers, man, that's education.
It was education, and it was just a dream-like, you know, you would just study those pictures and look at them and wow, look at this. Oh, Cream's the record. Wow. Oh, wow. Traffic. Oh, wow. Oh, The Who. You got Tommy in? Oh, great. Okay, wow. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Over. And maybe big shows are over. Like, it won't be the same.
Yeah, hope not. We'll find out soon enough.
Well, it's robbing some of these older guys of you know, their last years. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible, you know.
Guys like Dylan.
McCartney still wants to go out. Jagger still wants to go out. But, you know, 2 years when you're at that end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Like Paul Simon or Bob Dylan or stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're all struggling to be able to sing well, you know, and to lose 2 more years, you know, it's tough.
It is, man. Hey, let's talk about gear for a few minutes. What about the Les Paul captivated you so much versus other guitars?
Oh, well, it had the sustain factor. It had also a bridge capability where I can rest my hand and I could do what I do.
Yeah.
On the Strat, I was never a Strat player because the way the bridge is configured, I couldn't really do that kind of scalar type of playing as well, let's say. And I kind of developed this kind of muting technique that was solely because I was just shy. And so, the neighbor right downstairs um, just wouldn't hear me, when I'm plugged into an amp. If you muted, you somewhat mute the sound, right? So I kind of developed that style, and it was more.
So that's how that was developed, out of not wanting to bug your neighbor. That is really interesting, man.
Exactly.
Man, it's so you've almost had a like what is that doesn't even make sense. Almost, you tell somebody, hey, you're going to develop this style because that's going to make you have a career. Because
there's another reason, because if you're in like a flat out, almost flat out thing on your volume control for sustain reasons, and you play down low, it could be messy. So to get more clarity and punch and articulation, I would mute it.
Yeah.
Also for that reason, right? Because you're wide open and the notes are fat and fuzzy to some degree. So to get more articulate. And that was really the thing that I wanted to be, like, listening to guys like that I admired. Had the best players always had the best articulation.
Totally.
Totally against the sweep school, which is no articulation. I'm sorry, guys. But, some guys do that well, but it's not my thing. It's not really what gets me to perk up, when I'm hearing a player. It's always the guys that have the great articulation. Like Chick had great articulation. Gonzalo Rubalcaba. There are drummers that have great articulation.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You've got great. Paco had tremendous articulation.
For sure.
The weaker players had lesser articulation. It's just the way it is. And that's not to say Holdsworth was a weak player. He had a tremendous, unique, netherworld style, wonderful. He did not have the articulation, but he had this other great thing. So
sure.
There are exceptions to the rule.
You ever send your neighbor a note like, "Hey, man, thank you for being"?
No, it's actually she's still around. I actually talked to her.
Really?
But her mom and her mom will be out in the backyard, and my window is right up there, so her backyard is right below my window.
Yeah.
And it's just, I didn't want to like blast,
But that's so funny. What happened as a result of that? It's almost
that's totally true.
Holy crap!
I would just, it's my little insecure kind of. Let me mute what I'm doing.
Right.
Even though I want that crunch sound. If I let it wail, it would have been like, wow, the whole neighborhood's going to hear it.
That's so wild, man. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other two guitars round out your top three?
Okay, well, a little bit less on the electric, a lot less on the electric, because I've developed terrible tinnitus from the years of playing loud music primarily. It started with a serious 2-month in the hospital head injury where I fractured my skull when I was 7 years old. And at 7 years old, if you actually make it out of the hospital, you go to a place where they evaluate whether you're able to identify what a ball looks like and a glass looks like. And
wow.
So I had to go through a lot of tests to see, my brain was severely damaged.
Like cognitively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not old enough to explain the ringing.
Holy crap. So you had this right after that and you really didn't.
I think if anyone slams their head on the pavement, you will have ringing.
Yeah.
And some may experience, a permanent ringing. Some might have a, partial ringing that dissipates over time. Just like at a concert, if you go to a real loud concert, you may have some ringing and it might go away. If
Sure.
you're, normal. But if you're predisposed or preconditioned, through, family history, your genetic history, there's a chance, you might be one of those that gets, susceptible to tinnitus.
Yeah.
And tinnitus is awful because, hearing loss, there's so many things you could do today with a loss of hearing. So many amazing aids. I'm not using one, but there are incredible new developments, but there's nothing for tinnitus. So if you have tinnitus and it's chronic, there's different levels of the screaming or hissing.
All right.
And let's say of musicians that have been playing for a long time professionally, probably 8 out of 10 has permanent
Some sort of hearing
loss,
damage.
hearing
Yeah.
loss, right, of some degree.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 to 20% of those will also have, on top of that, tinnitus.
Wow.
So not everybody has this because it's a genetic thing and it's related to the brain.
Wow. Yeah, I've had a bunch of guys on the show who've had this. A bunch.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty
So
common.
it's torture is what it is. You're living with a screaming 24/7. And it does not fluctuate whatsoever. Zero. Nothing makes it worse.
Every day.
24/7.
Holy shit. This guy who I don't know if you heard about this. There's a guy, those steakhouses. It's like those steakhouses they have where you walk in. Yeah, because he had post-COVID, and that's what his thing was. It was so unbearable. And I guess the last week of his life, it amplified or something, and he offed himself. Yeah, man. Scary shit.
I read about it, and there is a hospital that you can go to say goodbye in Holland.
Is there?
Holland, yeah. Euthanasia hospital for tinnitus.
Wow. Specifically for that. It's that serious of a wow.
Well, there's no pain. So it's just imagine being locked into a car with the windows closed and just loud screaming nonstop.
Holy crap! Wow, I'm really sorry.
Now, I could hear you through the screaming, but it's there. I mean, it's like super high.
Wow, I'm really sorry, man. That's
you can either get accustomed to just living with it or allow it to bother you.
Yeah. Wow, I'm so sorry.
Allow it to bother you. It's awful.
Yeah.
So when I see even a picture of an amplifier, I like, ooh,
How did you play all these years?
Well, sounds around you help you because there's other things that distract.
Okay.
It's quiet. That's the nightmare. If the room is quiet, the focus of that becomes more real, and
wow.
There's nothing you could do. So when I sleep, you might say I'm addicted to sleeping pills, and also melatonin, and also magnesium, and also
zinc,
a fan, and also white noise on my phone.
So these things all help you remediate a little bit.
A lot, because then I can get to sleep. Otherwise, it could be rough.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. And lack of sleep, especially when you're our age, it's not like when you're a kid.
Yeah, lack of sleep is the health risk.
Torture.
Is you could die, and people don't realize that. So I've been to doctors. I said, look, doc, I'm on this lorazepam thing,
Sure.
which is a benzo, and I said, what's the bad news? So I said, well, I've gotten now 5 different viewpoints, and they said, well, you're supposed to only be on it for like several months, and then, not more. So I've been on it for like, 8 years.
Sure.
What's my prognosis? And they said, well, we don't know, but it's far worse to not get the sleep.
Right.
So
the
that was
pain
it.
of, yeah.
So that was it for me. That was like, okay, it's really in a half an hour, bam, I'm out.
That's awesome. Thank
And
God.
I wake up feeling great.
Yeah.
So what's what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I've cut down a lot because when I'm on the road, I'm crossing time zones left and right. I upped it to maybe levels that are concerning, because then you can't just stop. So I
Right.
cut it all the way down to like a half of one, which is miraculous.
Yeah,
I got
that
it
is.
down from like taking 3 of them, but if I stop from the half of one, it could really send me into a tivy. So I'm trying to do that because I got 4 left, and I'm like, oh man.
Oh my God.
Like, and you can't in Florida here. They got it in the computer, so no matter where you go.
Oh, oh shit.
Yeah, the next time I can refill it is like the end of May. I said, oh man, I am so,
Oh, dude, you need to go to your New Jersey pharmacist now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seriously.
We're going to Jersey at the end of the month. So can I stretch 4 out?
Oh my God.
So I'm experimenting with like melatonin. Like I took a ton of it. Like I took the one that I take is called 3-in-1. It's phenomenal. Anybody that needs like good sleep, check out this one called 3-in-1. They sell it at CVS. 3-in-1. But I took that plus a half of a regular melatonin. So it's a lot. I mean, but melatonin is supposedly safe.
Yes.
Right? So I'm up in the melatonin and reducing the lorazepam, which is a
holy shit, man.
Hey, look, it's not a normal life, but when I see these, like there's a kid online right now, he's a guitar freak. This kid, Pete. Have you seen this kid, Pete?
Pete what? I don't think so.
You gotta see him. It's, I don't know how I came across it. It's Pete. Pete Thinkle something. Dinklesberg or Thinkle something. And it's on Facebook. He's always on. Or maybe it's on Instagram. Let me see. And he must have went. He's a kid. He's a teenager, maybe 14, 15. And the kid has one ear. He wasn't born with the other side.
Wow.
So he had a strange cranial problem. So half of his face is not quite correct.
Okay.
And born without an ear here.
Wow.
Okay. And he does videos every day of him playing rock classics, with like unbelievable passion. And I'm looking at this kid going, yeah, that's the passion I had when I was a kid. I get it, but it's so loud. It's so loud. So I wrote to him, I said, Pete.
That was funny.
I really understand your passion, but dude, you got one freaking ear.
Yeah.
You're going to go deaf. You're going to go deaf if you play at that level. You could tell he's playing super loud. And he's playing with such passion. He's so into it. He got 1 year.
That was really kind of you, man.
He responded, yeah, I know. My dad tells me, yeah, I know. I really should. Go anywhere. Like, it wouldn't go anywhere with me if I was that age either.
Of course. Yeah.
My dad tells me, and this is the funnier part. My dad tells me you're really good at what you do. And I said, I wanted to say, you should hear some of my shit.
Yeah, right.
Try some of my stuff. Like he'll play like the Zeppelin solos exact. He'll play whatever, AC/DC, all the Kiss. He's into all of the more popular stuff
Right.
to a T. He nails it.
That was really
He
cool of you to
hasn't
tell him
yet.
that.
He hasn't experienced my universe yet. So
Yeah.
I'm curious when he hears Race with Devil, what he's going to do.
That's so.
Because once you hear this stuff and you want to do it, you're gonna have to involve Little Pinky. Because these rock guys don't use their pinky ever. It's a dead finger. And then when I see that, I get frustrated. Man, these guys never learn scales ever. Ever. It's all pentatonic. And they do it very, very well. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
But they never.
That's
so
like funny.
Finger.
That's so
Incorporate
funny.
your pinky.
Dead finger.
Right.
But it's so funny. Like the normal guy, like
I can find him while you're talking. Go ahead.
A baby boomer gets an email from, it says Al DiMeola, like, holy shit, what's this about? And he's like, you're just like another guy annoying him, like his dad. It's so funny.
Well,
man.
His dad must be filming him. I think his parents are very supportive.
That's cool. That's wild, man.
Because he seems to be totally like, brought up with really loving parents. You could just tell.
Sure.
And he talks about them. And here, Pete's. Okay, on go to this. It's called PETES. Pete's.diary.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Pete's diary.
And this kid is just full. His name is Pete Dankelson.
All right, I will check him out later today. That's so funny, man. That's hilarious. That was really kind of you to like try to help him out.
I meant well.
Yeah.
I really got concerned for this kid. He's got one ear.
Yeah.
And you can see he had a very strange, I guess you would call it a disease. I don't know what it was born with. Part of his face is like off and missing, And he's been through a lot of surgeries, you could tell,
Yeah.
And his attitude is unbelievably great.
That's awesome.
So he must have really strong, loving parents, and you could just see. He just loves what he does. He's like hopping around on one foot, like Chuck Berry. And look at this kid. God damn, I wish I had some of his happiness, when I was a kid.
I totally get that. Is nice, man. It was really kind of you to do that.
But he doesn't know the fusion world at all. He hasn't graduated, is what I'm trying to say.
He hasn't graduated.
No, he hasn't graduated.
That's so funny, man.
Look, when I got into, jazz and fusion, I graduated. That's what it is. Yeah.
And do you have like a favorite song that you wrote?
Wow.
I know it's like asking you, which is your favorite kid? I know.
No, there's so many, I look at my list now. I think I'm up. It's crazy. I'll show you the list here. I had to write it out just to see what it is. But,
a list of all the songs? That's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be like.
It's insane. So if I look at this list, there's so many that I'm really proud of, I gotta say. No, I don't know. There's just too many. I don't have one.
You have a favorite you like to play?
It's usually newer pieces that I'm working on that I kind of favor at the moment. Like I'm writing now some rocket science music geared towards solo guitar. So those are the only things I'm working on. It's like 10 new pieces that I've been tweaking for over a year now.
Yeah. You got a worst gig? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
You have a worst gig ever story?
There's so many of those too. I don't know how to.
That's funny.
Worst gig. Yeah, look, when you play a show, and it could be for the audience a great show, but you have like some moments that were just bad with the sound or something. And it could be just those moments, but it could be 80% of it was great.
Yeah.
just reflect only on the bad. I think this is perhaps not uncommon.
Yeah.
I think it's more common that we tend to focus, like, if, it could be one bad review.
Sure. A lot of people. It's
Mess
very
you
common.
up. Again, you got like all these great comments, and then there's one bad one, and that's, you're stuck on that. And it could be like that for a show too. There's plenty of shows where I felt like that. Like there was some mistakes in it, and like, oh my God, people probably heard that.
But man,
They haven't.
You have to make a mistake, because statistically, you're playing, the amount of notes you're playing is enormous. It'd be almost impossible to not make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's you know what I mean? It's
all the time. Look, even the guitar trio, when we were out with that thing, it was like chorus after chorus after chorus of solos. Oh my God. And here's what happened was, because we're putting out the Saturday night in San Francisco, which was the other songs.
Right. You had
from
mentioned
those two nights. Okay, the other songs, and that we probably didn't first pick those. So after 40 years, I listened to them. I go, this is still exciting as a mother effer.
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot how exciting this was. It's so. I kind of talked John into it. First of all, he forgot there was a Saturday night. So, God, gotta do this stuff. No, Friday night was good enough. You should really hear this. I could tell he didn't even know there was a Saturday night. So I put some tapes together for him, some record, some mixes, and he was blown away. So when I got around to, we got a deal and everything, and we had to come up with a certain amount of minutes per side, because we're putting out a 45 LP, 45 RPM, and a 33 RPM LP. So to make the sides work, we had to lose some stuff. And I went for the stuff that wasn't very, let's say, not, some of it was mistakes, some of it was just weak. So when I told John this, no, man, I like it all. Mistakes and all. No, that's all positive. He just like, that was real. It was real.
right.
I understood it, but I said, look, John, we got to lose it regardless, because we're going to make the sides work.
Right.
No, it was up to me. I would just use everything. Screw them. Just use everything. I said, wow, that's really kind of cool, because we were kind of anal back then, but I know where he's coming from.
So did you wind up cutting it, or are you going to have?
I had to cut it to make the size work, but now we're into a whole new mess, because after spending so much time, me and the engineer editing, which was, we never made notes on it, and what happened was, it got to Bernie Grunman, the mastering guy, and he says, this doesn't sound like the same theater. What do you mean by that? Well, what he meant by that was, he was also the guy that remastered Friday Night in San Francisco. So he was very familiar with the sound.
Sure.
And when he A-B'd it, it didn't sound like the same place. I said, well, it's definitely the same place. But we did not spend a minute A-B'ing with Friday Night, because what for? It was the same place.
Right.
But you kind of have to, because if the ambient mics are not mixed exactly the same, it could sound a little different. And since this is a very high-end audio label, extremely high-end audio label, they're very anal about every little detail. And they're worried about like bad press from the high-end audio people. It sounds completely different than the other.
Come on, man. It's,
oh man, you have no idea what we're going through. So they talked me into allowing their engineer to remix the whole thing.
my! So you got to.
So we got a problem. And the problem is that whoever this engineer is not going to know how to edit.
Yeah.
He's not going to know. So she's so freaking out that there's a woman that is steering this whole thing from the record label side. And she's like, wow, they got to spend like an extra 20, 30,000, whatever, to redo everything. Like you can redo the baking of the tapes at the best place that rebakes tapes, bakes tapes, right? And they're gonna go to Skywalker Studios, the Skywalker.
Oh, down in
George
Miami.
Lucas. No. Skywalker is George Lucas's place in the Bay Area.
Okay, right.
And then they're gonna have Bob Ludwig do the 5-1 sound, and they want to just do everything like top level. The thing is, they'll never get the edits right.
Yeah.
It's
so now all the work
at their discretion to where to edit. So John is like, no, I'm not in agreement with that. We want to be able to veto that. So she's worried that you're going to spend all this money again to hopefully get the same ambient sound on Friday night, which they might not get it even with all of these, wonderful new places they're going to bring it to. People are going to do it because the tapes were sitting for 41 years in my basement.
Yeah.
How do you know the acetate on the tapes is the same as what it was back then in 1980 when you did it? It's
not after 41 years.
So, and they don't have the test tones. There's no test tones.
Right.
They can't find them. I don't know where they are. I don't know which tape that was on. It could have been on one of the tapes. A couple of them I threw away because we had some water damage in the basement. So I think I just tossed them.
Wow. So the record was coming out like 3 years from now? What the hell?
It was coming out in September of this year. Well, first it was coming out in the spring, and then it was pushed to September. Now it's pushed to 2022.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks because they might, after spending all of this, find that it's not any better. Plus, they're worried about, especially John, vetoing it, and because he doesn't like the fact that maybe part of his solo was taken out of something.
Yeah.
And my manager just called me just right before you. He said, Al, you can understand their concern. I said, yeah, I do. I don't know what to say. This is like, I don't even know who the engineer is they want to use. So it's like,
God, that's really a shame.
I can't fly out there and go through all of that editing. That was like 2 weeks worth of torture.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that again. So I don't know how you're going to rectify this. I really don't. Unless this engineer is so musical, like brilliant. There are some that are like musicians.
Yeah.
And somehow could find where the edit points are miraculously. And he's convinced he could do that. Wow. But he should get on the phone with me and convince me that he could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah. Wow, that's really sad, man.
I don't know how you're going to get the sound exactly the same, but it is true. We did not spend time A/B because we just figured, oh, these are the same theater, so same show, which it is.
Do you think the small percentage of people that are going to say, hey, I A/B, who cares? It's 8 people.
Who gives a shit?
Totally.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like,
he is so anal because it's a high-end audio label. You have no idea how freaky
it just doesn't make any sense
about
though.
The critics.
Well, for the 9 people, the 8 people, that just doesn't make any sense.
I would say 10, maybe.
I mean,
10.
Who cares?
Can you imagine?
No, I won't. I would never do something. So you have 100,000 people doing this, and you worried about.
We made this deal, right? So the first album sold 7 million.
7 million, yeah, you said, yeah.
Some crazy figure. Of course, if you sold 70,000 today, it would be a lot. That would be like, wow.
Yes, massive.
But the thing is, when this deal was made, they absolutely refused to do a regular CD. I said, no. You got to do a regular CD. Al, I managed, they will not do it. I'm telling you, they won't do it. I said,
oh, it's only vinyl?
No. They want to do like SACD, right? Which is a high end.
Yeah.
CD, and sell it for like 40 something bucks. And I said, well, Gary, you got to have a regular CD. They're out. They won't do it. I'm telling you, they're out. You're wasting your time. I said, okay, no problem. Let's get John on the phone.
Yeah.
Let's do a conference call. And get John on the phone. I said, John, Impex is, is a subsidiary of, or the licensing it from Sony, and so Sony's involved, but Impex is a high-end normally label, right? And they did a wonderful job at Friday night, I gotta say. But in my opinion, John, and Gary's on the phone right now. He's listening. He's my business manager and kind of steering the actual contract. He's telling me the label won't do it with the CD, and I really feel we should. I absolutely agree with Al. Oh no, it has to. There needs to be a regular CD for the masses, for the whatever the masses are. Whether it's 10,000 people or 70,000. So that's all I needed to hear, because then once Gary hears this, he goes, okay, well, it's 2 against 1 here.
Right.
So he had to go back to it. So no, John and Al want it that way. Sorry, you have to offer a regular one. So they reluctantly agreed.
But what kind of business sense does that make? Who's going to spend $40 on a CD when they could? Because it'll happen. Nobody will buy it, and they'll say, "Oh, it'll be on streaming in 3 months. Let me wait till." And then you get nothing.
It's true. I had to fight for that one, which really, you're right about the other thing. It's like, who cares?
I mean, seriously,
a little different. Who cares?
That just makes no sense. You do things in business for the majority of the people, not the. I mean, it just makes. Maybe they just. It's good to be anal if that's what your thing is, man. But like, at the expense of what? It just makes no sense from a business standpoint. That just blows my mind.
Right.
Wow, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get it worked out.
Well, yeah. I think they're taking a big risk that it might not be that much better. But they're opening up a can of worms is what they're doing.
Not only that, but how much time are they wasting? It's like, you can make money, you can't make time, man. Yeah. I mean, so if it's on 97% instead of 100, it's out. It's got the product out.
They're worried about that extra 3%.
Yeah, that's
so insane.
Yeah.
Even this is not a good record market at all.
Of course,
let's not. I had to fight for that regular CD thing.
That's crazy.
Nobody's buying CDs anyway, but
But at least if they're gonna do, they're not gonna spend 40.
Everybody would want this record that knows Friday night.
Totally.
Oh, there's another record. Well, I want it. But then if you're saying, okay, if you want it, you got to spend like 3 times the amount of money, 4 times the amount of money if you want it.
Ain't gonna happen.
There's not that many high end. Like, I don't own a phonograph.
I do, but I don't buy records. I have old records I'll put on there once in a blue moon, and I certainly wouldn't spend $40 on a CD. I can tell you, and I'm a
They're worried
lover.
about the bad press from the high end audio people, from the the audiophile critics. Okay, nobody cares about that.
Gives a shit.
I know.
That's like, hey man, you're on the internet today. You're gonna get criticism. That's just the nature of the beast, because there's a lot of people out there that just love doing that, man. And
first of all, this is not a high-end audio recording anyway. It's a live record.
40-something years old.
This doesn't sound great to me. What's exciting about this is what we play.
Yes.
And the interplay, and that's it. This is not a high-end audio. This is not a Alan Parsons recording it. This is not Pink Floyd at Abbey Road, that it's like a high-end audio thing. It's not.
Totally.
It's just not. So to try to get another, 3% better than that, nobody's going to hear it.
No one's going to hear it, and nobody cares. They want to get the music out and start listening to it, man.
I should have her hear your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, you can play this when this comes out. It's going to come out in like a week and a half. You can play this snippet there. Say this guy.
Yeah, but this is going to hear me talk.
Well, I wish you good luck with it. I'm sorry, man. It's God. This is a tough question. Tell me just for this minute, top 3 Desert Island discs.
Oh, I right away go to the Beatles.
Okay.
On that, because I could listen to them every day and not get tired of it. And I still marvel at their their songwriting and their production as they grew through the records, you know. And I never get tired of White Album or Sgt. Pepper or Magical Mystery Tour. It takes me to that magic place in my youth, in that room that I had above my parents, and it's still great. I mean, if I hadn't had that in my life, I'm sure I would not be here.
All right.
Sure. There's no way I would have. And I think the world became a much better place because of them.
Yeah.
So those records, right away, right? And you know, and then there's everything else that comes way second, you know, way down the ladder, but also good, you know.
Like?
What else did I like? I liked all the popular music at that time. I liked the Who, and I liked, you know, the first couple of Zeppelin records, of course, you know. And then when I got into jazz, you know, I loved Return to Forever's first couple of records, and Mahavishnu, and, you know, Birds of Fire and Intermounting Flame. That was like just started a whole new movement, right?
Yeah.
You know, Bitches Brew. I liked it then, but when I listen to it now, it's like, oh my God, this is nothing but a jam session. That's all that Bitches Brew is, a jam session. But all of those guys that spun off, like Joe Zawin or Weather Report, you know, oh man, those records are so great, you know. And right at the same time he was making Mysterious Traveler, we were putting, you know, the record with me on it when Return to Forever, you know. And I was like, wow, on the radio I was hearing them and us, and such a magical time. That whole spearheading of the pioneering of the jazz rock movement was killer, you know.
Were you ever hanging out in a record shop and RTF comes on with you?
Yeah.
That had to be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Or one of my early records, you know, when you know, they would play Elegant Gypsy Casino in the store, and every, you know, you would watch people's reaction. Who's that? Oh man, what's that? I was like, look at this. If they would just do this more often, you could sell a lot of records. Sure.
I bought tons of records there that were playing in record stores.
Tower Records, they would put it on. Yeah. Go, oh man, look at the reaction. It was like, cool.
What a great store that was, man. That was such a cool store, that especially that the Broadway, East Broadway and West 4th, and East Broadway and 4th Street. Yeah, what a great shop that was, man. Spent a lot of time.
Virgin came later, and it was also great.
Yep.
It's just not better.
I know. Unfortunately, that part is missed.
They killed a wonderful business that they just were not using their heads, you know. They couldn't all join together and, you know, fight this thing somehow. But now it's all streaming, and it's robbing the artist big time.
It's robbing the artist, and it's just, there's no community, there's no gathering now. That's what the record shops were, which was really cool.
Gathering, right? There's no gathering, and there's no protective kind of legal people like we had. We had all these old Jewish guys either died or they're retired, you know, but these Jewish lawyers, man, they were like so protective of our stuff. They're gone, you know, and because there are clauses in those old contracts that could be definitely challenged, for sure. And there's just no steam behind it.
Hey, I'm going to ask you just 3 questions because I know you're not feeling well, and thank you for everything. I really appreciate it. This has been fun. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Oh, you mean when I imagined when I was a kid? Or imagine when I was when?
Whatever, you tell me.
Oh, of course it's different. I mean, it's different. You know, I got the break of the century, you know. And then God passed me the football, and, you know, I didn't drop it.
Yeah.
I didn't drop it. And to have longevity is really hard, right? And the longevity was not solely because of the way I play, because it's not like I'm the hot kid on the block right now. There's so many other guys they talk about now in the mainstream, but they're not going to be there very long.
Yes.
Unless they can write their asses off. And that's the thing, that's the key to longevity, is not a guy. So there's a lot of great soloists that you know, like there's even some great teachers out there you probably see online, right?
Of course.
You know of any?
I mean, you see
Come to
him.
mind?
No, I mean, you see him all along. I don't want to
There's a couple that, that holy shit.
call anybody out.
And even those teachers play phenomenal, but they can't write for shit.
Right. They're not, they're not saying anything that you're humming in your head.
Yeah. So, with the longevity came, I think, because I'm also a composer.
Yeah.
And that's something that you either have it or you don't. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're a hell of a composer, man.
Like, like there's some great pianists I love, but they're not known for their composing, but
who do you like? Who do you like piano players?
Well, there's Keith Jarrett, of course. It's got a wealth of unbelievable stuff. Herbie, of course, is great. Gonzalo Rubalcaba is ridiculous, as a rhythmist and also improvisationalist. Egberto Gismonti and Ralph Towner are two of my idols because they play phenomenal guitar and also piano equally as well, which just blows my mind how they could do that, and then also compose great. So they're big inspirations to me.
Good.
Those two guys, I look up to them as they're like my heroes.
Musical heroes. Cool.
Yeah. And I talk to Egberto every now and then. Recently even. You just spend the night, looking back at some of his work and going, oh my God, I forgot about this piece, how great it is. Oh my God. So in fact, I sent him an email the other day, out of the blue. It's been a while since I talked to him. I said, hey, Berto, you got to send me the music to this piece, He said, oh man, so great to hear from you. It was a really nice exchange.
That's nice.
I remember when I put out Diabolic Inventions, this tribute I did to Piazzolla, and I sent it to him to get his criticism of the record, and he sent me a detailed criticism, positive, by the way, of every piece. He went piece by piece, describing his feeling about the piece, and everyone was great except the last piece, which was comical. Because Piazzolla is known for his contemporary tango, classical tango, what he's done with it. He's been like the father of the contemporary tango, Argentinian. And the Argentinian school is completely different than the Brazilian school. But what I did was I took this piece of his and I did my own version of it in a kind of bossa nova way. He goes, with that one piece, he goes, you may have a problem with the Argentinians on this one. Yeah, and I thought it was just a funny criticism, but I knew what he meant. You can't bossa nova, a tango.
Sure.
But I did.
There you go, man.
And it was like just a funny criticism. But other than that, he took the time to do that. I said, man, this guy is. Not only do I adore him, but he. He gives me the time. So, it's amazing.
That's cool.
Life has been amazing in that regard. It's like when I met George Martin, to actually sit with him. And then he presented me with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the BBC on my birthday in London. Was like, what? Man, I think I'm in a fucking dream. Somebody's going to have to pinch me. It's like that. I'm sure for Steve Lukather too, who's done, his thing with Ringo and has also met George Harrison. It's like we're in a dream, to be able to touch some part of that history,
Yeah. So good for you, man. Well earned. Toughest, second question, toughest decision you ever had to make or most difficult thing you had to do?
Oh. Well, there has been some legal things that have come up that it's not good to talk about, against, a musician or somebody that is highly regarded. But, it's tough to have to go into that.
Yeah.
So I won't even get into detail.
No, totally cool, man. Yeah. Totally cool. And last question, Al, and thank you very much for everything. I've really enjoyed this. I really appreciate you opening up, and it's been a lot of fun. And thank you so much. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been a deliberate change, and how much has just been a natural part of aging?
Well, the newest relationship I've had, where I married my wife, it's been phenomenal. It's just what a dream this relationship has been in terms of happiness and ease and just partnership and all. You can go through life with all kinds of different ups and downs, which I did, and never got it right until the third time, and we have a little daughter that is just a dream child, and it's just, life has been so enjoyable because I have someone who's got my back, and someone who's, we dream up ideas together, and we're just enjoying life. I went through a miserable one before that, so it's just great to have these last 8 years be as great as they are, and we just hope to have another 20.
That's awesome, man. I certainly hope you have a lot more than that.
No, I mean, she's from Germany, a different set of values and great family. I just predict we'll have a wonderful road ahead.
I hope you do. Why not?
Yeah. And my wife's much younger too. I mean, she's 33 years old.
Oh my God. Good for you. Right on.
I mean, I hit the lottery on that one again.
Awesome, man. Well, I just wish I hope you have a great,
she's an old soul. She knows everything about all the music, loves all the music of my era, but no, loves it all,
Hey man, as long as you're happy, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. She was an entertainment critic or a writer for a magazine, and she's interviewed a lot of big names, so she's got a really cool history too, Anyway,
that's good. I hope you get a lot of time.
I got to run, but it's been really marvelous talking to you, man.
Did you ever get to meet Robert De Niro? I know that was like a thing.
No, my God, that was the other one I want to meet.
Yeah.
I met Pesci.
Did you really?
Pesci. Yeah, I met one night. I was here just composing right here in this room. And I'm writing, and then my buddy calls me up, one of my friends out here. He goes, Al, I'm with Joe Pesci right now. He wants to meet you. I said, what? I said, oh shit, whoa, okay. I got in my car, I zipped all the way down to South Beach. And there he was, sitting at a table with Joe Pesci,
That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Robert De Niro, if you're listening, give Al DiMeola.
I would love to meet De Niro. I know he's a little, he's not so outgoing in terms of meeting people and stuff like that. He's really private, and he's not so approachable, let's say.
Yeah.
Like Pacino seems to be, and what I'm told he certainly is, I think, from what the people that have met him.
All us guys from the Bronx are good.
Yeah. De Niro's not as approachable, but you never know. You just never know, right? But with Pesci, it was funny. He was, he's a guitar player.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was actually a little bit of a, not so much jazz, but more straight, like standard singer with guitar. And he was the guy that introduced Frankie Valli, who I got to meet recently. He introduced Frankie Valli to Bob Gaudio.
Who's Bob
Gaudio? Bob Gaudio was the writer of all of those hits. He was one of the Four Seasons.
Oh,
he wrote all of the songs.
That's cool.
And Bob Gaudio grew up on my street in my hometown. And his parents and my parents would play cards together like every week.
That's so funny. That's
Bill
like
and
such
Rose
a
Gaudio, they were always over the house, and I was like the safety patrol kid on that corner where Bob grew up.
That's hilarious.
Bob
was
like more like 7 or 8 or 9 years older than I am, but he wrote all of those giant hits, for the Four Seasons.
So Joe Pesci was Frankie Valli's Eskimo.
Yeah. So Frankie and Joe were from the same area, Belleville, Newark.
That's hilarious, man.
And they became friends. And Joe somehow knew of Bob Gaudio and said, we got to go to Bergenfield to meet this piano player who's writing these great songs. You ever hear the song "Who Wears Short Shorts"?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, that was Bob Gaudio.
Oh wow, God, the money he must have made just on that song.
Right, and that he wrote it because these girls were on the corner of Washington Avenue in Bergenfield, my hometown, and he saw these girls in short shorts on the corner. Who wears short shorts? And he wrote this little tune, and one thing led to another, and Pesci made the Four Seasons what they were.
That's so funny, man. Well, Mr. De Niro, if you're listening, give Al DiMeola a call.
De Niro is out and about. I would love to meet him someday. It would have to be an introduction from somebody. And oh yeah, very good. You better fucking leave,
Hey, let me tell people where to find you. Al DiMeola's official Facebook. Follow Al on there. He's got some very cool home events that he does now, and you can go to his website and get on their mailing list, and they'll everything's on there as well as his social media, I think. He's got limited series lithographs coming out. When are you gonna? Where do you market that? Is that on your social media or is that on your website? Yeah, cool.
These are signed lithographs.
Yep. Awesome.
Of my original scores of whatever piece, we have some of the more popular pieces, but this one is also one that I happen to have off the wall.
Very cool. And where do people find that stuff? Is that on your website?
It will be. That's the next thing we're gonna do. We were selling them at the shows. I had 3 shows at the end of March.
Right.
In Florida.
I can't believe you're like down the corner. I didn't know. I had no clue.
Yeah, we played, in fact, right there in Largo.
Yeah, I know exactly where you played.
That was the first show in like 15 months, and I was like, man, I was nervous as hell because I was also playing a lot of new music in a solo format, and also some stuff with Gumby Ortiz, and yeah. So I also have a couple of the RTF original scores. That Romantic Warrior.
That's very cool.
Framed, and I can't walk around. I have in the wall in the other room, but I can't walk around my computer. But yeah, so we have lithographs of all of these pieces. Race with Devil, my original handwriting when I was living with my parents. And
that's hilarious, man. So you got that, and that's going to be on the website.
Yeah.
You got home events, your autobiographies. You're working on that.
We're working also on the autobiography is well on its way. It's like we're halfway into that, and we have a release date of October, and then we're working on production of a documentary.
Documentary you mentioned, yeah, that's cool.
Which my wife is very involved with the directors and producers of that. I'm letting her steer the boat on that one.
That's cool, man. So that'll be coming out probably 2022, 2023 or something like that. I have no
idea. Yeah. I have no idea when
very cool, man.
Actually come around, because that's a lot of steps to get to that. But she's totally involved with that.
And everything comes out of your website though, right? Or social media. Okay. So
I think Facebook for me is more interesting. But yeah, it'll all be there.
Great. So follow Al and all those things, YouTube, all that stuff. And thank you again, man. It's really cool. Hang on one second, wrap up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much, Al. I appreciate everything. It's been a lot of fun. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Al, thank you so much, brother.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.